Hello, I'm Marcus. If you're watching this, your paycheck is probably gone before you finished reading it. Not spent on anything you'd brag about, just gone. To the mortgage, to the kids, to the quiet, expensive business of keeping everything from falling apart. That feeling? That's what we're fixing today. Part 1. The invisible weight. You are the financial glue. You know exactly what that means. You're squeezed from both sides, holding everything together while quietly running out of hands. Kids who need things. Parents who are starting to need things too, though nobody said it out loud yet. A mortgage that doesn't care what kind of month you're having. And somewhere underneath it all, your own future, which you haven't had the bandwidth to think about properly in years. Most financial advice for people in our position starts with the magic of compounding. The math is real, but math isn't what's keeping you up at 2 a.m. It's a feeling. Specifically, it's the feeling that your paycheck is a house guest who never unpacks, arrives, looks around, and immediately leaves to pay everyone else. Here's the image I want you to sit with. You've been pushing a boulder uphill. You know what that feels like in your body. The burn, the way your shoes slip, the constant full body engagement, because the second you ease up, it rolls back and you lose everything you gained. In your 20s, that was manageable. The boulder was smaller, the hill was shorter, but somewhere in your 40s, the boulder got heavier and the hill got longer. And now you're realizing, with the particular clarity that comes from genuine exhaustion, that you cannot push this thing to the top by yourself anymore. You need machinery. Most gurus won't say this plainly, but wealth building at our stage isn't about being clever. It's about beating decision fatigue. You make somewhere around 35,000 decisions a day. By the time you've handled traffic, managed a difficult conversation at work, figured out dinner, and dealt with whatever small domestic crisis showed up uninvited, your brain is a wrung-out cloth. Nothing left. The idea of thoughtfully engaging with your asset allocation at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday isn't just unappealing, it's neurologically unrealistic. Your prefrontal cortex left the building hours ago. So we're not going to rely on your willpower. We're going to automate your future so it runs quietly in the background while you're living your actual life. Part 2. From puddle to snowball. You scraped together $500. Maybe it took 2 months of small sacrifices, skipped lunches, a delayed purchase. You invested. You checked the account a few weeks later, and it's earned you $32. $32. You can feel the disappointment land in your chest like a damp thud. You think, I could have taken the family to dinner. I could have felt something. So you close the app. You spend the money on something that delivers warmth right now, because right now is the only option that seems to work. That's the puddle phase. Shallow, unimpressive, and deeply discouraging. 90% of people see the puddle and decide the lake was never real. They quit here, not with drama, just with a quiet resignation that settles in and stays. But here's what nobody told you. Your money has a personality that only shows up past a certain threshold. At $10,000, the personality changes, quietly. The check engine light comes on, and instead of your stomach dropping, you just deal with it. You sleep differently, not perfectly, but better. Your job starts to feel like a choice rather than a sentence. At $100,000, your money is generating returns that look like a part-time salary. You didn't grind for that extra income. You didn't take a second job. Compounding did it. You are no longer the engine. You're the person who built the engine and then stepped back and watched it run. But none of that happens if you quit in the puddle. The puddle is not the destination. The puddle is just Tuesday. Part 3. The 50-30-20 Lazy Shield. You've heard of the 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Classic advice. Your uncle probably still believes in it. And for a certain investor in a different era, it was fine. But inflation has teeth again. Rates have shifted, and you don't have 40 years to let mistakes quietly correct themselves. You need a strategy with backbone. Here's your 50-30-20 Lazy Shield. 50% global index funds. You are not picking winners. Stop thinking about it that way. You're buying the entire haystack, thousands of companies across dozens of countries, and the needles are already in there. The Amazons and Microsofts of the next 20 years exist inside that haystack right now. You don't need to find them. You own them. When they rise, you rise. Not exciting, better than exciting. Reliable. 30% bonds. Nobody at a party has ever said, "Let me tell you about my incredible bond returns." And yet, when the stock market has one of its periodic meltdowns, and it always does, your bonds don't fall with the same violence. They're shock absorbers. Without them, every market dip feels like a crisis, and crises make people do stupid things, like selling everything at the exact wrong moment. 20% alternatives. Real estate, gold, commodities. These are uncorrelated assets. They march to a completely different drummer. When paper assets slide, these often don't. You don't need much of them. You just need enough that when everything else is shaking, something isn't. Not flashy, not a story you'd tell at dinner, but it'll still be standing when the storm passes. And the storm always passes. Part 4. The 60-second set and forget. Here's the trap that kills more late starters than laziness ever has. You feel behind. That feeling is real, and your brain, working exactly as designed, looks for an accelerant. Crypto, a hot stock tip from a coworker who swears he's found something. Day trading, anything with momentum and a story attached. If you catch yourself using the word catch up, stop. The mentality of catching up pushes you towards bets calibrated for windfalls, and windfalls are statistical rarities. What's not rare is losing half your money and spending 3 years recovering to where you started. The answer, unglamorous, undefeated, is target date funds. Pick the year you want to retire, say 2045. Buy a fund called something like Target Retirement 2045. Done. The fund builds a portfolio that starts aggressive while you have time to weather volatility, then slowly, like a ship turning in deep water, shifts towards safety as your retirement year approaches. It rebalances itself, adjusts itself, manages itself. You are not in the equation. That's the feature. Time in the market beats timing the market. Every study, every decade, every market cycle. You don't need an MBA. You need a plan boring enough to actually stick to. And the boring thing, left alone, compounds into something real. Conclusion. The tree. There's an old proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. You're 45. Your tree won't be the tallest in the forest. Some of your neighbors got a head start and their trees are already big and shading half the yard. Fine. That's not the point. In 15 years, your tree gives shade that simply would not exist if you'd left the ground bare another season. You would have traded something permanent for the comfort of not having to dig. Don't look backwards. There's nothing useful in that direction now. Look at the freedom you can still build. Not infinite wealth, but options. The ability to choose your job rather than endure it. A night's sleep undisturbed by the math you've been doing in your head for years. Consistency is your only requirement. Not brilliance, not luck, not perfect timing. Just showing up, month after month, in the good months and the grinding ones, and moving the money where it needs to go. Open your accounts today. Whatever the numbers say, they're your starting point, not your verdict. If you can only put away $50 this month, put away $50. The habit is worth 10 times the amount. The habit is the seed. Drop your age in the comments. Write, "I'm starting today." Let someone witness it. Marcus, signing off.